Have you ever noticed how quiet the room gets when you start healing? And I mean like really healing. Not just reposting Instagram quotes, not just doing the meditations, but like when you start to show up differently, when your energy shifts and people start to notice. I'm talking about the real soul changing, identity shifting healing. Suddenly, the people who used to check in less, or sometimes not at all. The friends who used to cheer you on kind of go silent. And then you start to realize, these people really only seem to love the broken version of me, the one who laughed through their trauma, the one who drank too much and stood up for themselves way too little, the version of you that kept yourself too small for the sake of others. And now you're choosing boundaries instead of burnout. You're starting to speak up and show up differently. And to the unhealed and unevolved, you are now a threat. And it's not because you're better than them, but it's because you have become a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable when they are not ready to see themselves. Today, we're going to talk about that. So, you know what time it is. It's time to get comfortable, grab a drink, grab a snack. It's time to tune in and shift with me. Welcome back to the On Some Real Shift podcast, where I have real conversations on what it takes to shift your mindset, and up-level your emotional and spiritual life. I'm your host, Vanessa. I'm a certified life coach, mindset transformation coach. I do NLP, Reiki, and sound bath healing, but most importantly, I am a student of the university. Welcome back, my friends. Here's the thing that nobody tells you when you start going on this little healing journey, okay? Healing is going to cost you some relationships. Not all of them, but some. And especially the ones that are rooted in pain and not purpose. There are tons of relationships that we build in the trenches, bonded over heartbreak, over chaos, over addiction, over the same cycles that you are now trying to break. And the second that you step out of that cycle, the foundation starts to crack. You stop gossiping, you stop performing, and you start setting boundaries. You stop showing up to every crisis, every meltdown, every emotional emergency that you used to absorb like a sponge. And suddenly you're the one who's changed, and they say it like it's a bad thing. You're the one acting different. You're the one who's too deep now, or you're doing too much. And no, sweetheart, you're not. You're doing different, and they're still doing familiar. We've talked about it here and there on this channel, but there really is a lot of grief that comes in healing that nobody really prepares you for. And this part can get heavy because even though you know you're doing what's best for your soul, there's still like some heartache in there. There's this grief for the phone calls that don't come anymore. I remember when I stopped drinking, that was the first sign that certain friendships that I had at the time, were not actually the friendships that I thought they were. I remember having this group of friends, and we used to drink a lot together. Every get together involved alcohol in some way. And when I stopped at the beginning, it was like, oh, good for you, you know? And then after a while, when people realized I wasn't just saying it, that I was truly sticking to it, some of the people in that group would try and tempt me to drink. Oh, why don't you just have this one beer? I want you to try this sauce I made when it's got beer in it. For what? I told you I don't want to drink anymore, but I digress. So there's grief for the phone calls that don't come, for the group chats that start to go silent, grief for the memories that start to feel so distant that it feels like they almost happened to somebody else. And underneath that grief comes something else we also don't talk about, which is sometimes guilt. Guilt for outgrowing people that you swore would be in your life forever. Guilt for not being able to save them. Guilt for knowing that if you go back, it would feel easier, but it would also cost you yourself. And you might not talk about it, but I can guarantee you, you'll feel it. There might be that part of you that wonders, am I leaving people behind? But the real question is, were these people ever walking with me to begin with? Or were they just standing next to you while you stood still? I want you to listen closely. We have to be careful with our loyalty because a lot of times if we don't check it, our loyalty will keep you loyal to dysfunction. It will have you shrinking so your friends or your family doesn't feel small. It'll have you minimizing yourself and your growth so that they don't feel behind. But loyalty without alignment is just self-betrayal. You don't owe people access to you just because y'all have history. You owe yourself a life that matches your healing. And sometimes that means loving people from a distance, not with bitterness, not with shade, just with boundaries. boundaries. Let them stay where they are because you got somewhere to be. For the unevolved, for the unhealed, for the people who are simply not willing to take a look at themselves, your healing is probably going to feel like betrayal to them. In reality, it has nothing to do with them. You're just putting yourself first. Have you ever noticed that when you set a boundary with somebody who benefits from your lack of boundaries, that they call it betrayal? They say you switched up like it's a bad thing. They say that you're not the same. And they're right. You're not. Because you stopped living in survival mode. So the people still living in survival mode don't know how to relate to you anymore. They're still running on chaos. They're still thinking dysfunction is love. They still think that real ones mean ride or die, even if that ride is a never-ending loop of self-destruction, self-abandonment, all the things that you're walking away from. You're choosing peace, and peace looks like betrayal to somebody who is addicted to pain. So what do we do with the loneliness? Because I'm not gonna lie, it can get lonely, but I want to remind you that the loneliness doesn't mean that you're wrong. What it means is you are creating space for soul-aligned relationships that match your elevation. But first, you got to mourn what you're leaving behind. You got to stop going back out of guilt. You've got to stop shrinking so that people don't feel abandoned by your growth. It's not your responsibility. You are not abandoning them. You're just choosing not to abandon yourself anymore. You will be understood, especially when you start choosing evolution over familiarity, especially when you stop over-explaining yourself to people who are just committed to misunderstanding you. And I know, you used to care. You used to care about them. You used to need people to get it. If you're anything like me, you'll write a dissertation to somebody in a text or email, trying to figure out all the right ways to say what you need to say in the way so that they don't get mad, but you also feel heard, so that they'd still love you, see your worth, or still choose you. But the truth is, the people who are committed to misunderstanding you will never hear you clearly. People who are not on the journey yet, who are not ready to get on the journey yet, they're not going to get it. You are elevating. And I've said it before, but just because you're elevating doesn't mean that you're better than the people that you are leaving behind. It simply means that you are more awakened and you're on a new path. It means that you're prioritizing yourself over others. And we should all be doing that in healthy ways, because these people are not listening to you through your truth. They are listening to you through their pain, through their wounds. And sometimes the most self-loving thing you can do is let them run with whatever narrative they feel like running with, because you know who you are. And you know where you're going. Let them call you distant. Let them say you switched up. Let them say that you've changed, because you have. And you know what? That's the point. So let me just leave you with this mental shift. You don't have to keep choosing spaces that you've outgrown just to prove your loyalty. Your healing doesn't need permission from anybody other than you. Your boundaries do not require a group vote. It's okay to grieve the friendships, the relationships that cannot come with you. It doesn't even mean that they are awful people or bad friends. It just simply means you're no longer in alignment. Don't allow the grief make you forget why you started the journey to begin with. You didn't walk away so that you could hurt somebody else. You walked away so that you could protect yourself. You walked away because staying would hurt you. And that's what the healing journey is really about. Getting honest about walking away from anything or anybody that threatens your evolution, that threatens your growth, anything that does not align with where you are and where you're going. You can let them stay where they are and wish them well, but also keep on going, because there are people, so many people that you could not imagine, that are waiting to meet this evolved version of you, the version that you are fighting so hard to become. There are so many people who will love and respect your boundaries. They will respect and honor your growth and your energy. They'll be inspired by it. People who don't just feel safe, but that are safe. So let's think of this episode as your invitation to heal and to stop apologizing for it. If you're on this messy journey of evolution with me, I highly encourage you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Share this with somebody that you think would benefit from it also, because healing in isolation is heavy, but healing in community is healing. And we don't just talk about it over here, we live through it, okay? I'm Vanessa Lynn, and as always, I am so grateful for your time. I will catch you on the next episode. Peace.